It feels like everywhere you look, brands are digging up their old logos, slapping retro designs on everything, and trying to remind you of your childhood. So what's the deal? Are they just out of fresh ideas? Or is there something deeper going on? A kind of psychological game being played? Well, that is the central question we're investigating. And here's a perfect example. Just look at Polaroid. On one side, you've got an ad that's leaning hard into this whole vintage is cool vibe with the old school fonts and classic cameras. Then on the other side, a super sleek, modern ad for their new stuff. It's the same company, but they're using two totally different psychological tools to get your attention. And trust me, that is no accident. It is a very deliberate strategy. And this strategy, it has a name, nostalgia marketing. The whole point is to tap into those warm, fuzzy feelings we all have for the good old days. By linking their product to your happy memories, brands are hoping to kind of bypass your logical brain and create an instant, powerful emotional connection. Is nostalgia a universal language? Does a retro ad hit someone in, say, New York the same exact way it hits someone in Tokyo? Or could a person's cultural background, where they come from, how they see the world, completely change the equation? To dig into this, they focused on one key cultural difference: collectivism versus individualism. Now, to put it simply, collectivist cultures tend to focus more on the group, on shared history, and on harmony. On the flip side, individualist cultures tend to value things like personal freedom, being unique, and individual success. So, with that in mind, they came up with two clear ideas to put to the test. First, they predicted that, in general, a nostalgic ad would make anyone feel more connected to a brand. Simple enough. But here's the big one, their second hypothesis. They predicted that this effect would be way more powerful for people with a collectivist mindset, because those folks place a much higher value on the idea of a shared past.
And the setup they used was actually pretty clever and simple. They had people take a digital survey. First, they'd ask some questions to figure out where each person landed on that collectivism-individualism scale. Then, a computer would randomly show them one of two ads. Right after seeing the ad, they were asked to rate how connected they felt to the brand, and then they answered a few final questions.
And the detail they put into the ads is pretty cool. The nostalgic ad had these warm sepia tones, a classic font. The other ad, the neutral one, was super clean, modern, and all about being efficient today. Now this is crucial. The product and the logo were exactly the same in both ads. So how do you measure a feeling of connection? Well, you ask people to rate statements just like this one, on a scale from 1 to 7. This is how you take an abstract emotion, something like personal meaning, and turn it into a number that you can actually analyze with statistics. Before anything else, the researchers had to check, did their nostalgic ad actually make people feel more nostalgic? And the answer was, well, not really. People who saw the retro ad rated it as a little more nostalgic, sure, but the difference was so small it wasn't statistically significant. That p-value of 0.16 basically means there's a good chance that tiny difference was just random luck. Our first clue just led to a dead end. But wait a second. When they plotted the main results, look at this graph. The blue line, that's the neutral ad, it stays totally flat. But the black line, that's our nostalgic ad, it shoots straight up as people get more collectivist. I mean, it looks like a perfect picture of their second hypothesis coming true. Even though that graph looks incredibly convincing, the math, the actual statistical test, tells a very different story. That p-value, 0.071, is just a little bit too high. Scientists usually need to see a number below 0.05 to be confident a result is real. So let's just lay out the final verdict from the evidence. The nostalgic ad didn't really make people feel more connected to the brand, and that effect was not significantly stronger for people with a collectivist worldview. In the court of data, that initial, really logical hunch was not supported.